Let's look at different types of reactions based on energy transformation. First, we have endergonic reaction. You see the prefix En, and you should think in. This reaction requires that you put energy in to make it happen. It requires energy. For example, photosynthesis. You take carbon dioxide and water, and you need energy coming in from the sun to then bind molecules together to make glucose sugar, which is a larger molecule. Notice in endergonic reactions, you're using the energy you put in to take smaller molecules and bind them together to make a bigger molecule. Based on what we just learned about endergonic reactions, answer this question. Keep in mind, this is referring to the overall process of eating. True or false? Overall, digesting food into smaller pieces is an endergonic reaction. Exergonic reactions are the opposite of endergonic reactions. If you see the prefix EX, you can think exit or out. In this case, energy is exiting the reaction or being released. This is the process of eating. It's actually the opposite of an endergonic reaction. Go back to why you eat, to gain energy from the food. So you shouldn't have to overall put energy into eating. Instead, eating should provide you with energy, or in other words, release energy for you to use. Eating is therefore an exergonic reaction. Another hallmark of exergonic reactions is that molecules break apart. Recall from chemistry that chemical bonds store energy. So when you break apart the molecules, the bonds in molecules, energy is released or goes out. This is what happens when you eat. It is a process called cell respiration, which we will have an entire lecture on. When you eat, for example, tacos or bread, you take the energy from glucose from the food. Recall glucose is a carbohydrate, specifically a monosaccharide. When you break the bonds in the glucose sugar, energy is released or comes out. Your cells then harvest that energy and transform it to be used. So how exactly do we transform the energy from what we eat into energy that our cells can use? Let's look at an analogy to help us understand. Let's take a cell phone. You know it needs energy to work. Now, let's look at the sun. You know it provides energy from the sun rays. However, you also know that you can't just hold up your phone to the sun and get energy to transfer. But can you think of how you might be able to utilize the sun's energy to get your phone to charge? Some solar panels that can convert the sun's energy into a battery or electricity, which then you can plug your phone into charge. This is what we call a coupled reaction. One reaction goes first to then help the second reaction go. Here, the first reaction is transforming the sun's energy into the stored energy in the solar panel. This is then coupled to the second reaction, where the energy in the solar panel is then transformed into electrical energy that your phone can use. This is the concept of how our cells are going to get energy from the food we eat. In coupled reaction, energy from the exergonic reaction, which releases energy, is then used to drive endergonic reactions, which require energy input. The energy output of the first reaction provides the energy input needed to run the second reaction, such as these two interconnected wheels in the figure. The first blue wheel turns, and then it automatically causes the second green wheel to also turn or go. In our example, the exergonic reaction is the sun releasing energy, which then goes into the solar panel. The endergonic reaction is the solar panel providing energy to power the cell phone. So now we relate this to the cells inside our body. I want to introduce you to ATP. It's the universal energy carrier of the cell. In other words, our cells love to use energy in the form of ATP, just like cell phones like to use energy in the form of electricity. So we need to somehow get the energy from the food we eat into ATP form. Then our cells can use the ATP. As a note, ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. A is for adenosine, which is this molecule right here. T is for tri, and P is for phosphate. It is basically an adenosine molecule with three, tri means three, phosphates attached. Here, we will use a coupled reaction. In our first reaction, we will take the energy from food and transform it into the energy of ATP. Then, in our second reaction, we will take the energy in ATP and transform it into energy of the cell doing work. If we go back to our wheel example, transforming food, this blue wheel, into ATP, the green wheel, is the first exergonic reaction. The food releases energy to ATP. The second reaction is endergonic, which takes the energy from ATP and puts the energy into the cells to do work. So in our bodies, the sun does not provide the energy, but instead the food. We then break the food down to release energy in an exergonic reaction to store not in the solar panel, but instead in ATP. Then we use ATP to provide energy for our cells in our body to do work, just like the solar panel provides energy for the cell phone to work in this endergonic reaction. Notice our cells cannot directly use energy from food, just like the cell phone cannot directly use energy from the sun. It needs to go through this coupled reaction. First reaction is food to ATP, and second reaction is ATP to cells.